We're going to talk about the Rangers, obviously a big offseason for them, Islanders and Devils. And to do that, we bring in our pal, Hradek from NHL Network, co-host of NHL Now from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday on NHL Network. And Coach Quinn calls me Petey. You are not allowed to do that, okay?
I will not do that. I've known you too long.
All right. What do you think about the Rangers' first year under their new coach?
Well, I mean, it's a rebuild. It's a retool. Call it what you want. They've traded a lot of veterans out of there over the last, 18 months or so. They've acquired a lot of draft picks, a lot of younger players. I thought the key with David Quinn is right from the start of the season, he made a statement, healthy scratch for Kevin Shattenkirk. He had guys in and out of the lineup when he felt the effort wasn't there. No matter what the result was, he was going to demand effort, and he got it, I think, for most of the season.
Of course, the Rangers have the number 2 overall pick. Devils have the number 1 overall pick, and here's GM Ray Shero on that.
We have to get it right, and at the same time, we have 9 other picks in the draft, and those are going to be as important too, because I always say there's a Hall of Famer outside the first round at every draft. If you look back, just got to find them, and someone will, and those players are very important. And but again, it's kind of down the road we've talked about in terms of getting younger, getting more assets, and to see, I guess, New Jersey and New York 1 and 2 picking in the draft. And when we played them near the end of the year, there was a thing that I don't know if they are the youngest team or the second youngest team, where we're tied. I'm not sure we're not trying to be the youngest team, but we certainly did not want to be the oldest team where we were before. So making progress, and again, a lot of work to do, but brighter days ahead.
EJ, I love it. A GM who's trying to downplay the idea that we have the number 1 overall pick, but hey, our other picks matter too. I mean, come on. Like you obviously know, the second number 1 in 3 years for them. They were a playoff team only a season ago. They're really not that far away. But Jack Hughes, is that the given at number 1? Can you see them even thinking about going another direction?
Well, I think among the scouts, there might be some in that room that feel it might be wise to go in a different direction. But I think Jack Hughes will be the first overall pick. He's a dynamic player. He's a difference maker. He's a center. He's someone that's broken all the different records at the U.S. National Team Development Program, and there's been a lot of good players that have come through there. My only concern with Jack is that he's not the biggest guy at 18 years of age, so jumping right in the National Hockey League, there's a little concern there. But he is a terrific, terrific player. Reminds me a little bit of Patrick Kane, and I think the Devils will take him with the first pick. I do also agree with Ray, though, because think about these teams around the league. I mean, the Tampa Bay Lightning with the terrific regular season, we know it didn't go well in the playoffs, but Nikita Kucherov was not a first-round pick. Braden Point, not a first-round pick. So these guys, you can find really good players with subsequent picks, and I'm sure the Rangers and the Devils are hoping to do that.
EJ, big picture for the Devils. Taylor Hall gets hurt. Yeah. Only 11 goals. Last year, he had 33 goals. That's such a huge differential in scoring. Of course, Taylor Hall had the knee injury, also the goaltending problem. If they hadn't had the injuries and they get the goaltending, is this team really that far away? It doesn't seem so.
Well, I think they were ahead of schedule last season when they made the playoffs. Remember, Taylor Hall had a career year. He may never have as good a year as he had last year. Now he's got an injury issue to worry about, and also a contract that they've got to figure out down the road. So, the goaltending thing was 2 years ago. Keith Kincaid came out kind of out of nowhere and played really well. Last year when he was with the Devils, he struggled. Corey Schneider, he had a big-time problem last year. He got his game going at the end of the season. Mackenzie Blackwood came in and played pretty well. So, I think that, they got ahead of the game a couple of years ago. I think they came back to earth last year. They do have a second now, first overall pick in the last 3 years, which is big time for them. So they're continuing to move in the right direction. But again, they're going to have some things go right, and I think that defense is an area where they need some improvement as well.
All right, EJ, as for the Islanders, of course, best regular season since 83-84, win a playoff series for only the second time since 1993, but then get swept by Carolina. Now, big questions. Free agents, Eberle, Nelson, and also the captain, Anders Lee. Let's listen in.
I think I grew a lot as a player and as a person this year, being able to handle a lot of different things and, having more on my plate and I've said this all along too. We got a great room, and a lot of people to fall back on and lean on, and we all did that really well this year. But yeah, it was a huge honor and big learning experience. You always feel like you're prepared for something like that, but until you go through it, it's extremely special, but there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it, but one that happy to have.
EJ, the life of an Islander fan is always hope for the best, expect the worst. Can you see 2 off seasons in a row where you lose your captain? Is that even possible?
No, I don't think that's going to happen. I do think that that Anders Lee will sign with the Islanders. I mean, Lou Lamoriello doesn't tell us very much, but he spoke in glowing terms about Anders Lee after at the closeout day the other day. So I expect they will come together. Term is probably the sticking point there, but the Islanders, I think, have the money and to make that work. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the other guys. I think Brock Nelson is probably a guy on their list. I don't think Jordan Eberle is a guy that'll be back, although you never really know what's out there in the market, and I'll be curious to see how it plays out with Robin Lehner as well, who had a terrific year, really embraced the Islanders and Islander fans as they embraced him. But, the Islanders are going to have some money to spend. There's a lot of free agents on the market. Maybe they make a play for a Bobrovsky. Maybe they're trying to get in on a Panarin. So those decisions will impact what they do with their free agents.
EJ, how about the playoffs overall? Good for the league or not that the number 1 seeds were each knocked out in the first round, and no matter how this goes, unless it's Boston, going to have a very unlikely team potentially in that Stanley Cup final?
Well, I think hockey fans love it. I mean, everybody has a chance to be successful in this league now. The playoffs are, I think, much different than the regular season. You get into a 7-game series. You drill down on the weaknesses, the strengths and weaknesses of teams. Injuries play a big part of it. Tampa Bay, yes, they got swept by Columbus in the first round, but remember, Victor Hedman, their number 1 defenseman and a huge piece of the puzzle for that team, hurt at the end of the regular season, missed the last 4 games. He played in games 1 and 2, but boy, he was way off his game in those 2 games, did not even play in games 3 and 4. So injuries are a factor in this. But hockey fans, I think, do love it because you go to you come into the day's games and you just never know how things are going to play out. And I think the other thing that makes the playoffs different is that the games are played at with such a ferocity, at such a ferocious level that for the officials, and everybody's always on the officials in all sports, and particularly in this one, but it is hard to call all the fouls that take place in an NHL playoff game because the guys are going so hard. So it's a balancing act. Guys do get away with a little bit more in the postseason for sure, and you have to, I think, as a manager, build that into the mix for your team that you have to know you're going to have to play through some things when you get to the postseason.